watermelon. So, as you can see, we're talking about the Central Intelligence Agency. From what's shown on the screen, you see, you have here is, the CIA and the crack epidemic. And what you have to understand about that is that a lot of these things haven't went unaddressed. So today, people still are feeling the effects of these experiments, or these things that was distributed to the populace, especially in certain communities and certain neighborhoods. These things were actually impactful. So they do have an undertone that to this day has not been rightfully rectified, and justice hasn't been issued to these particular agencies. I spoke about the CIA involvement and things like the black bag jobs, and just recently just spoke about that, and the FBI and stuff like that. But we want to talk more about their involvement in certain other, what some people might want to call conspiracies. These aren't conspiracies. It's just actually what it is. When you start to unravel a lot of things, and certain organizations, agencies, institutions, and governments come up, then you have to take it, as what it is. So, this is just something that we're going to touch upon. But what we are unaware of is that the CIA has an involvement in the music industry, and it has been that way for quite some time. It has been that way for quite some time, because they found out that music is a direct inlet to the people. This is a way for us to get certain ideas to the populace, especially when it comes to a certain group of people. And if it's agenda based, then you would normally have agents that are put in front of you. And if you look around in the music industry, it's the same people everywhere you turn. Everywhere you turn, you will see a Fat Joe, you will see a Snoop Dogg, you will see certain people that they just keep showing you over and over and over and over and over again, because these people, they're not artists, they're not rappers, they are agents, and they are entertainers, but they are also agents. So one thing that I was just talking about, especially on social media. Social media, this is the platform for all types of things to be shared. So if there's something that they want the people to engage in, it would normally be on social media. If not on the news media, it would be on social media. So what I do see on social media is that the CIA has artists that they use to promote And the whole objective of the CIA is mind control. This is where you have the MK Ultra program. They want mind control. Remember, it's the Central Intelligence Agency. So this agency wants to be the center of intelligence. All intelligence has to, pass through this particular agency in order for it to be known as the center of intelligence. It's the Central Intelligence Agency. So, recently, we had the artist Kendrick Lamar, and it was a lot of talk around him, and everywhere you turned it was Kendrick Lamar, Kendrick Lamar, Kendrick Lamar. And I know that that's not, he's not that talented of an artist. You gotta understand, you're not a hater. You're somebody that knows music because you're an artist yourself. You're an artist. And the thing about that is people don't believe that because a person is not in the industry, they aren't a talented person. The music industry is not about talent, it's about control. It's about manipulation. It's about promoting an agenda. That's what the music industry is about. So just because a person isn't associated with the music industry, it doesn't mean that they aren't, worthy of, huge or massive amounts of people listening to their music, acknowledging their music, and saying, yo, that's dope, yo, that's dope. They would tend to believe that because you're not in the music industry, you're whack. That's not the case. The case is, it's all about being controlled. And if a person can't be controlled, that industry wouldn't have any kind of use for them. So that is something that, I wanted to share, because it was brought to my attention that, the music industry, especially hip hop in itself, was owned and operated by the CIA, or the CIA has infiltrated it in at some point in time, and it started to roll out agendas. And one of those agendas were, if we go back to, here, you will see, that the CIA financed 80s hip-hop to corrupt American youth, admits ex-CIA agent. So, this isn't something that is unheard of. It's not something that is unheard of. This is something that, you might have to take some interest in order for you to come up with what it actually is. So with that, we'll get into this article, but I really wanted to go back, here and show you what's going on right now. When you start scrolling down your timeline, you start seeing these particular artists right here, is the clips. And the clips, what they're doing with the clips is what they did with Kendrick Lamar, making them the focal point of mainstream music. Like, oh, this is the hottest album out, but it really isn't. It's a form of manipulating you to believe that these people are doing numbers, and they're really not. They're really not. And for me, I like I said, if it's deceptive, then you would have to meet it with transparency. You would have to meet deception with transparency, so that the people that are being deceived can see the truth. So for for a whole year and some change, you had, or what, I don't know, it was probably about a year and some change. You had the Kendrick Lamar being the number one artist in the world, and this, that, and the third, and all these Grammys and this, that, and the third. But it's a machine behind these people, which you identify that as a way to deceive the masses into listening to certain things. And on these particular platforms, you'll see that they have agents that have to promote these particular artists. And if you continue to scroll, you might see another post about them. You might see another post about them. Like I just said, you might see another post about them. And that's these particular people's whole objective is, look, you see how many followers they have, 863 followers. Their whole objective is to pump certain things out to you, and if you keep going, you might see it again. You might see more, Look, they show them as like heroes and interacting with the kids, and there go your peace sign. If you keep scrolling, you might even see some more of it. You might even see more. Here you go. Look, you'll see more. So, back to the crack epidemic and LSD and heroin and stuff like that. When they was unleashed on the people, they would have agents that would come amongst you with it. Yo, this is the good stuff, man. I'm telling you, you gotta try this stuff, man. But they're agents. They're not really, dope addicts and crack fiends. Even if they were, they still have maybe an antidote to get them off of it, So that's basically what I'm trying to tell you, is that these are the same tactics that were used in the distribution, the creation and distribution of drugs, and the agents that were used, like the people that were used to promote and make the drugs more appealing. So you would have, let's see what this guy looks like, 132K. Followers. So it's all about having a following. It's all about having a following and influencing that follower and influencing that following. It's all about being placed in a position to influence, the masses. And here we have it again. Discussion, R rating on the clips. Let God sort them out. That's the name of the rap album. Let God sort them out. Look, 275K followers. You understand what I'm saying? So, these platforms in particular, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, it's all, CIA, Central Intelligence Agency. Like I said, you have a conglomerate of people that work in conjunction with them, and we discuss those people. We discuss them, it's no secret who they are, and that's that is just what it is. But if you still go, you might find more. You look, here you go, and in particular, and then you might have bloggers, and they'll talk about they haven't stopped listening to a certain album, and that's to engage you. That's to engage you to be like, yo, son, let me go listen to it. What is it, dope? But these are distraction. And here we go again, colors. And if you look at them, 315K followers. So we are seeing the same thing they have just did to Kendrick Lamar, You know, they did the Kendrick Lamar last year. They're doing with, or even it's still in this year, but because everything runs its course, now we have to get some other artists and put them in front of you, and these are distraction agents. That's basically what they are. And if you scroll, you might even find more. You know. You know. But their whole objective is to get you engaged. To get you to engage in it. And 212 followers. You understand what I'm saying? So, there's agendas, then there's agenda pushers. There's agendas, and then there's agenda promoters. And, we have what brought me to that is that I've seen. Let me see if I can find it for you. Understand what I'm saying? Because I commented on somebody's page. On matter of fact, it was Jadakiss and Fat Joe. And again, Fat Joe, it's evident that he's a part of that particular movement, because he's everywhere and in everything. Matter of fact, we could even go here. I don't fuck with the kumbaya shit. All their talent must be God sent. I sent your ass back to the cosmetics. The things I seen under my eyelids. Collapsing dreams, murder and sirens. Let's be clear, hip-hop died again. Half of my prophecy go to rock him. How many insurances have let me down? Well, fuck it, the West minds me right now. Therapy showed me how to open up. It also showed me I don't give a fuck. The two-time turning out with the genocide and generous. I'm refuge wanted. I'll be the general cause and general mitigations connect. The agenda of mine. Move niggas up out of here. This shit get gentrified. Heavy chains like Genovese. Drop your Pentagon and sure bet your chicken reveal. And tell them get your minds. Pound niggas, I am the general. Where my gin and juice. Every song in the book of Genesis. Let the saxophone. Niggas want the team with me. Well, here's the ginger brew. I general representation. Get off my gin and juice. I say, see, you fucking dickhead. You must be friendly agency. Here comes the gin. See, the thing for me with this was, now, Fat Joe, Pusha T, and Malice, they're not lyricists, but Jadakiss is a lyricist, and Jadakiss has said some of the craziest bars, when it comes to rhyming. Rhyming is a competitive thing, for a rap artist. There is a competitive thing, and when you hear dope lyrics and dope bars, you like, yo, ooh, you know what I mean? So this is what brought my attention to it, because you don't know who's on. You don't really know who's. It don't tell you what's being listened to. You just seen Jadakiss moving his head. So if you got Jadakiss moving his head, you want to know, what is they listening to? What is Jadakiss moving his head to? And then when you come to find out, it's Kendrick Lamar. And as an artist yourself, you're listening to these bars. You're like, son, what? I've heard dope bars that make you say, yo, ooh, I've heard that before. And I've heard battle raps, and I've heard diss songs. I heard diss records and battle songs. I've heard, some of the craziest stuff. And I even got some of the craziest stuff that I wondered, how did I make that? that puzzles me. I got music sung. I got lyrics that I created that give me chills, that would make me cry, like, oh, bring tears to my eyes, like literally. So you're not unaware of what bars are that are like, yo, that's an incredible bar, you know. But then when you hear the music that they're listening to, especially them, is different. You know, these guys in particular is different because as a lyricist or an artist itself, as an artist, you can be a lyricist, but your art may be bland. You might not have passion in your wordplay. Your wordplay might be good, but the way that you deliver it may not be top tier. You could say something, two different people could say something, but it'll have a different you would receive it differently depending upon the delivery. So if if Fat Joe's delivery isn't appealing, it might sound good, but how is your delivery? You know, these people might even have some good bars, but what is your delivery? You know, how are you delivering it? I mean, is there emotion in there? Is it passion? Are you giving it? Are you? So that's what an artist, a lyricist and an artist, and these are things that you have to understand the distinguishing factor of it. So when I seen Jadakiss do that, I said, yo, Jadakiss he's lying. Why would Jadakiss lie unless he's, now, because now you do see they have a platform together. And I have always, suspected Fat Joe because of, certain, places and how the camera is always on him. You have always suspected him of being an agent. Same thing with Snoop Dogg, of being an agent. Same thing with we just found out recently. It might not even be true, but you have speculated that Umar Johnson is an FBI agent, is a federal agent. And also you just got finished seeing Whack 100 with a badge, and as he discussed his badge, he lets you know that he's connected and who he's connected to, and then he goes into his Freemason brothers. So we do know that there's ties with a certain group of people and with the industry. So I wouldn't, maybe they don't see that there's anything wrong with taking or siding or being in cahoots with a machine that is designed to manipulate and deceive people. Maybe they don't think, maybe they may be unaware, but that's actually what it is. Especially when you have eyes to see what it is, you start to see. So I commented like, yo, it's not for me. Like, it's not for me. You can't make that for you. You can't make that. You can't make the music. If it's not for you, it's not for you, So here you have people that want to comment, and not only as they comment, not only do they comment, but they also start to try to strike a nerve in you. You understand? Like, they try to get at you. They try to make you feel. Look, they try to just because it's not for you, So why are you here? And you tell them. You let them know why you here. I saw Jadakiss nodding his head. I used to rap, so I know what dope bars are. And even with bars, you have to have some type of soul behind it. I don't feel the clips at all. I didn't even know that was Kendrick Lamar, but I'm just thinking that was the clips. I don't feel that. Whatever that was, I didn't feel it. Like, yo, you know what I mean? You understand? So I know what dope bars are, and even with bars, you have to have some type of soul behind it. I don't feel the clips at all. they could be saying some dope stuff, but you can't pass any rapper off as, yo, that's dope, because I'm gonna go and check. No hate, no capping. I'm not a fan of anybody, because everybody is subject to change, you know. And I let them know I used to be a fan of Tupac, and when I was a fan of Tupac, I would completely just, shun and get out of here. Y'all got that Biggie stuff, But now, as you get out of being a fan, you can listen to things unbiasedly and come up with a unbiased decision like, yo, that's dope, or that wasn't dope. It's alright, it was alright, So, you can judge righteously. Biggie was a phenomenal lyricist. He was. Biggie was the way that he put lyrics together was phenomenal. He was a phenomenal lyricist. So from what I heard, it's not impressive. And again, I used to rap, so it differs from an artist that loved the art, and an artist could hate a piece of their own work that the world marvels over. So somebody told me, yo, you capping, this man spitting. You understand? But I've heard Biggie, I heard Tupac, I've heard, Jadakiss, I've heard other artists that are incredible lyricists. Eminem, you've heard Eminem, and whether Eminem writes his, I don't know, but whatever it is that Eminem did or does, he's that's something that makes you say, yo, that's inspiring. That would make you say, the thing that Jadakiss did. But Jadakiss, he's styling because you understand, they have to do this. You understand? They have to promote certain things. Certain things have to be promoted. That's what I'm talking about. When it's agenda based, you have to promote certain things. And who are you promoting it for? The music industry. What is the music industry? The music industry is now a product of CIA involvement. So whatever they want you to engage in or indulge in, they will put it in the music because it has an influential effect on people. So that's basically what I'm trying to convey here, that the music is something that the people need. It influences, it moves people. So what you would think that would you believe that the CIA would leave something alone that can get to people? No, it would get into that as well. The same thing I was telling you about, with religions. You don't think that people that want control over people would get into religions if religions are, something that people gravitate towards? No, they would not leave those alone. So with that, you want to, you want to, shed light on that, because, it's just what it is, It's that's just what it is, Go to church, go to the cosmos, you don't really care nothing about all that, I mean. But here you see this particular person says, if you got Jada making that face, job well done, But like I said, amongst us we have agents to make you, to allure you, to ensnare you, to make you, inquisitive about what certain things are. So, that's with the music industry in itself, But like I said, if you was to go up and down social media, but what you do not hear, like if I was to go outside right now, I wouldn't hear none of this. I wouldn't hear anything from the clips. When I go outside, I don't hear in my community. If I go from here to the next hood to the next hood over, or to the next state over, which is New York, I wouldn't hear any Kendrick Lamar. I haven't heard any Kendrick Lamar. People don't ride up the streets playing Kendrick Lamar. They still play Drake out here, But let it be told online, Kendrick Lamar, he ended Drake's career, and you understand that's That is just uh, mind control and trying to make you believe certain things that aren't true to be true, you know. But I've seen, like I said, I've seen this right here, and you know, you know, you gotta understand, Jada knows better than that. Jada knows that's not. Jada knows better than that. You know, Jada knows better than that. You understand? Jada knows better than that. He does, cause he's way better than that. Now, I mean, he's a lot better than that. But what I mean, maybe he's a different type of artist. But when you're an artist, your whole art, you're competitive with other art. Every art form that you hear, you're judgmental towards it. If it's subpar, you'll let people know, like, yo, that's subpar. If it's impeccable, you're like, yo, it's dope, bruh. It was dope, man. And for me, that's some of the reasons why I don't listen to music, because every artist is is competition. What they create, you'll create stuff. And plus, on top of that, when you hear another artist, you can subconsciously embrace some of the stuff that they're saying, and intertwine it in some of the stuff that you're saying. So I like to keep my art form pure, without any type of influence. And if you do have influence, it would be unsuspecting of where you got it from, unless you're being purposely transparent, like you want people to know, like, yo, I got this from that. But yeah, you see that online, it's and that's not my music. I guess that's just how it sounds on this. I'm not sure if that whole song sounded like that in the studio, but that's just what it sounded like on every device that I have. If you go back there, somebody comment, and you go and check the comment, and you hear it, you know what I mean. But you just wanted to share that before we get into what the CIA does and how they influence certain things amongst people. So this particular article, it was written, let's see when it came out. This is from August 24, 2017. So CIA financed 80s hip hop to corrupt American youth, admits ex-CIA agent. So this was an ex-CIA agent that is elaborating or giving you this type of information. So John Holmston, a retired CIA agent, has admitted this week on national Russian television that the CIA was behind the creation of the 90s, 80s hip-hop scene and financed major hip-hop acts including NWA, Africa Bambaataa, and Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. The government at the time spent big money, serious money, on this covert operation destined to further division and corrupt the American youth to nihilist, anti-establishment, and anti-American ideologies. He explained in a half-hour interview broadcast on national television. Famous hip-hop songs of the legendary hip-hop outfit NWA were even scripted by a team of psychologists and war propagandists of the CIA. After police, and when I'm called off, I got a sawed off. Squeeze the triggers and bodies are hauled off. and other nihilistic and anti-establishment lyrics were intended to unleash a wave of cynicism towards authorities, promote the use of heavy drugs, and entice the youth with revolutionary counter-establishment ideas. So the reason for being is that these things prompt law enforcement to combat those attitudes and that mannerism. So it made you hostile towards police. So even with Tupac and his, pro-black and and his stance against police, it was all, a ploy to get people to have these particular stances against certain things. So when we delve into a lot of our history, we will find out that, everything that we've been taught or that we know has been, a lie. And it was always an agenda behind it, So, I mean, we have the Migos right here. The retired CIA agent claims the social engineering maneuver was extremely successful. It is. It's extremely successful because you'll have more people, banging on the door to get in than you would have of them outside of the door trying to close that door or trying to tear that door, down, or tear the whole building down so it exists no more. So this is the reason why it's extremely successful, because they make the artists appear successful, and everybody has a knack for success. They have they have a desire to be successful. And when you have a desire to be successful, it's no telling, there's no limit on what you would do to be successful. So you can be used as a CIA agent, in a music industry to promote certain things to the populace. We understood at the time that music was a powerful means of propaganda to reach the youth, explained the 77-year-old man. Our mission was to use teenage angst to our advantage and turn Generation X into a decadent, pro-drug, and anti-establishment culture that will create uprising and further division within society. We even infiltrated mainstream radio to promote their music and reach millions of people every day. He admitted, visibly proud of the accomplishment. For many of us, the CIA infiltrating the 1980s hip-hop scene was one of the CIA's most successful experiments of propaganda to date, he acknowledged during the interview. We could say Frankenstein's monster got up off the table and started goose-stepping, whatever that means. The retired CIA agent who has granted a Russian resident who has granted a Russian resident permit in 2011 also claimed Lior Cohen, commonly known as the tall Israeli who runs hip hop, is a CIA asset. That's basically what they are. They are assets of the CIA. They're assets. When it comes to engineering culture, no one touches Lior Cohen, Homestead admitted. Hip-hop artists signed and promoted by Cohen included Slick Rick, DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, the latter better known today as Will Smith, Eric B. and Rakim, EPMD, Stetsasonic, De La Soul, A Tribe Called Quest. He ended up promoting rappers such as Jay-Z and Kanye West, and more recently brought Migos and Young Thug to prominence. So, John Homestead warned the CIA haven't stopped using hip-hop to manipulate America. It hasn't. Like I just showed you. Kendrick Lamar as you being the lyricist and you seeing that, there's false acclaim and a false buzz around people. You have to see, it's something behind that. Why are people allowing that to be, done? Why? Because there's agents and agents amongst us. Like the crowd that's among the people that's amongst you in the crowd is agents as well, and they're going to promote that. And if you don't like it, they'll make you seem wrong for not assimilating or accepting this artist as, this is the new wave, or he dope. If you say he dope, they'll pick up stones and they'll stone you. So in the 80s, it was about division. Now it is about the emasculation of males in society. Pictured, Young Thug is in here. So that's part of one of the things that it's about. They say that that's about right now is emasculating, males in society, or to influence you to emasculate yourself, Some experts openly admit hip-hop nihilism, which was expressed in the use of harder, more self-destructive drugs like heroin, cocaine, methamphetamines, pushed United States President Richard Nixon into the war on drugs, a campaign of prohibition of drugs and foreign military intervention, when the stated aim being to define and reduce the illegal drug trade within America and around the world. The chaos we caused in America helped the government justify overseas wars of plunder to middle America. The country wouldn't be where it is today without hip-hop. The news that hip-hop was created and promoted by the CIA for social engineering purposes comes after it was revealed that American modern artists, including Jackson Pollock, Robert Motherwell, William de Kooning, and Mark Rothko, were also secretly funded and promoted by the CIA. So that's just the article, going over how the CIA uses rap artists in the music industry. This is the reason why the music industry isn't open for all. It's only open to a select few. Everybody can't enter the music industry because it is surrounded or shrouded in deception, and all sorts of manipulative and just practices that are unethical and I want to say anti-humanity, So, here we have this little thing about the exposing Epstein, and this. I don't even know who this is. I don't know who Jeffrey. I'm not going to check it out either, because what I do know is that the history of what's been done is so sinister and it's so sick that there's not anything that can come up that could top or trump how wicked and sinister the history has been. There's nothing new that's going to come out that's going to make you say that means that nothing can't surprise you. These are just things to keep people engaged in gossip and back and forth and stuff like that. But the music industry is heavily involved in Here we have hip-hop was a psychological operation invented by the CIAs. So when we did have gangster rap coming to the forefront, with NWA and Eazy-E. You had Ice Cube and Eazy-E being captured, saying that they was black acting schools out for you to join. Even with Tupac went to the School of Performing Arts, and Kendrick Lamar and was an actor, and you have to be this actor. You have to have an ability to act, and there you get recognized as someone that can be used, to be promoted. We can promote you as an artist. Even with Kodak Black. Kodak Black on he stated that he was going to Nickelodeon. He was going to be an actor. All you have to do is put in Nickelodeon, and you'll probably see, that he's actually these people are actors,
So Kodak Black's Nickelodeon audition video surfaces. Hey, what's up? I'm A-Dub, and you gotta check this out. So on Saturday, July 8th, a video posted to social media shows a confident young Kodak Black as he was en route to audition for the popular children's network Nickelodeon.
Oh yeah, audition with Nickelodeon, cause a new show coming out, and then just stay tuned. I'm gonna be on there. I know how to act.
Gotta know how to act. That's, first and foremost. You have to be an actor in order for us to use you as an actor, So, and this is, you do know that it's governmental, because out of all the people in the world that could have been pardoned, President Trump pardoned Kodak Black, released Kodak Black from prison, and to this day, you have Kodak Black being, just whether that's the real Kodak Black or not, I don't know, but you have him being, just weird, he's being ignorant on camera, being very ignorant, He was. They got a picture of Kodak Black. Let's see if I could bring that up for y'all. Let's see if I could bring that up. Kodak Black at an event. Kodak. That's I'm sorry, y'all. That is whack, man. I need something like I need something that's gonna make me, Eminem said hard-headed and hot-headed, bull-headed and pig-headed. You know what I mean? Big-headed, some pricks said it. I'm sick, this dynamite stick, bury the wick. It's gonna explode any minute. Some lunatic lit it, and it's not Nelly. Do not tell me to stop yelling. When I stop selling, I'll quit. So, you understand that type of stuff? Like, oh. You're not ready. I got jelly like Beyonce. You pot belly. This is destiny. Yes, money. I'm off running, so get off of me. I'm not slowing or softening. These are bars. That is something like, oh man, that'll make you say, that type of stuff like that. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You can be even moved by lesser bars, but that's just something that I'm showing you. That for an artist or a lyricist like me, something like that would have to be like, an arsenic writer, carpal tunnel. Marshall would start shit-itis, excuse my language, but that's what he said. Hard-headed and hot-headed, bull-headed and pig-headed. You understand? And he kept going. I mean, so quick, this dynamite stick, bury the wick. It's gonna explode any minute. Some lunatic lit it. And it's not Nelly. Do not tell me to stop yelling. When I stop selling, I'll quit. So stop dwelling. Yeah, that's dope. So you know, But we go back here because we want to see Kodak, black, white booger, it may look. Here we have it. Here we have it. Picking his nose. Kodak Black picking his nose and wipes the booger on a female's head. You know what I mean? Wipes a booger on a female's head. That's why I told you, before that, there's people that are socially and financially rich, but they're spiritually and morally poor. Kodak Black is rich, has way more money than I have, way more money than I have. You know what I mean? And look, and wipe it on her face. But does he have more? Is he more morally and spiritually rich? You know what I mean? I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't be able to do that right there. I wouldn't be able to do that. Because I know better. I have more morals, and that my spirit wouldn't allow me to just pick my nose and wipe it on. You know what I mean? And if I do that, I'm playing with somebody amongst me, and I know that ain't really nothing on me. If you do that, you're doing it because what I mean. You're just playing. You're just playing. But Kodak is being seen as what I mean. He's in the part of the focal point of wherever you go. This is why they create these celebrities. They create these celebrities because they want them to be, or they make them bigger than life, and that is, far-fetched. You can never be bigger. Nothing is bigger than life. But they have the attitude and the stance that, everything, they're the center of the world, like everything revolves around us. And that is not the case. And that's like robbing. That's like stealing from God. That's like stealing from God. And by believing that you're the focal point of anything. And it's like the same thing with the world. That's like you're telling us that the world is not the focal point, the center of attention. Well, they might say we had geocentric and heliocentric at one point in time. And everything they said was geocentric, meaning that everything revolved around the world. And then they changed it and said everything revolves around the sun. Like the sun that we see. And you have to understand, some things are not what they are. But everything revolves around the earth. If the sunlight gives energy to the earth to produce crops, and if the moon is connected to the tides, everything revolves around the earth. I mean, the earth has no kind of service to the sun nor the moon, but they have a service to the earth. So the earth is the focal point of the center of attention. So that's just something that you have to be mindful of. But this is somebody that your president Donald Trump has released out of everybody in the world that you could have released. An artist, an entertainer. So that only lets you know that they are in cahoots with the government. You've seen Kanye West in cahoots with the government. You've seen Megan Thee Stallion, dancing for Kamala Harris. You've seen all these people, Nicki Minaj with Obama. You've seen even Yoshi-iye in the White House. So these are all government agents, posing as, peers amongst you. and I allowed people to know, like, yo, son, these people aren't your peers. I believe I stated that in the comment that I've made to this guy. I'm gonna let y'all know that real quick. I'm gonna just to read it to you. You know, just to read, because it's something that you have to understand. You know, it's something that you do have to understand, bruh. You know. You know, it's something you have to understand. Like, let's see. But I allowed them to know, like, son, these aren't your peers. These aren't your peers, because if they were your peers, you know, they would be right here, you know, amongst you. You know, they would be right here amongst you. They would be right here with you. You know, your celebrities, they would be, you know, here we go. Someone said, yo, this guy in particular, you know, you better than Kendrick Lamar, obviously. And let's see if we could, no, we don't have to. So just because I stated that, you know, it's not for me, he said, you better than Kendrick Lamar, obviously, you know. And I said, righteous, I am. But why come for someone not in the industry? Why would you come for me and I'm not in the industry? I'm your neighbor. You know, this goes back to love your neighbor as you love yourself. But I'm your neighbor. You know, the industry artists are not your neighbors. If any of them were your neighbors, they'd be down here in the comments with us. That industry isn't about music. It's about controlling the masses. We saw in They Cloned Tyrone that the people that own the music and the artists own the people. Only some of us are unownable. And you seen in the movie they use the owned to attack the unownable. Be your own man, bro. Think for yourself. Don't let them use you to attack your peers to defend their property. You get what I'm saying? You know, and he invited that by coming for me, you know, by you know, just making the comment like, you know, a trolling comment. So when you do troll, you'll get, you know, some wisdom in return. You know, why would you come for me and I'm one of your peers? I'm amongst you. They're not amongst you. They could never be amongst you. They don't care nothing about being amongst you. If they did, they'd be in the comments. You would see every last single one of them down here in the comments interacting with us. They are silent. This is what I'll be telling you about, you know, even on YouTube. When you have people with these platforms and they don't interact with their audience, you know, these aren't your peers. You have to get down there in the comment section and interact with your people. You have to, you know, because you have to if they're amongst you, then you identify with them, then you share energy with them. That's just how it goes, you know. But you know, you understand? You understand? But these are agenda promoters. They promoting agendas, you know, because before King Marley had a whole different picture. He had Morgan Freeman in his picture, iced out with gold teeth. And now we have, you know, son, I don't want to hear that, bruh. You know, not sure, but you know, I have this guy with the this is brand new right here. He didn't have this on his page, but here he got he switched his profile pic, and you'll see the next picture. It should be Morgan Freeman. You know, yeah, this right here. So he's a troll. This guy trolls people. You know, this is how you understand trolls. You know, of what they have as their profile picture. You know, this is, I guess this is he here, but yeah, they are trolls. You know, and they use trolls. They'll use people to attack you, just like in the movie they clone Tyrone. You know, but yeah, now he has, you know, let's remember Malcolm Jamal Warner, and you know, but yeah, we idolize these celebrities. It's idol worship. You know, it's idol worship. These people, you are being made idol worshippers, and you don't even know it. So when it comes to mockers need somebody to mock or something to mock. Idol worshippers need something to idolize or someone to idolize. Then you have the righteous that need something to rectify, and then you would have the wicked that need something to corrupt. You know, and that's how it goes. You know, that's exactly how it goes. You know, but you know, yeah, you're being informative, and whether you know it's understandable to you, it's understandable to them that hey, you know, we know what's going on, and you know, maybe we should knock it off. You know, maybe we should knock it off. You know. Because that, if it's not, you understand. So there you have, you know, your Pope Nook, you know, and then I have this guy.
Everybody's eating. That's excellence. If there's 30 of us in this room, but you're the only rich, super rich one there, what's excellent? That's extravagant. You showing up there extravagant. Yeah. And then some people, the problem with black people is sometimes their ambition is stronger than their loyalty.
Right. So sometimes the people's ambition to be, you know, successful is stronger than their loyalty to who and what they need to be loyal to. You know, when you have somebody amongst you that's trying to bring forth change, you know, not to them, but to amongst your people, and give you wisdom that may set you free, you know, and let you. The music industry is ran by the CIA, and if your ambition to be accepted inside of that industry, you would betray that particular person to be accepted in there. You know, that's how it goes. You know, sometimes a lot of people's ambition is stronger than their loyalty, and that's, you know, the thing amongst, you know, your people. But you wanted to capture that and, you know, share that to people, whether they, you know, receive it or not. You do your part. You know, I'm doing my part right now as I discuss, you know, the CIA involvement in the music industry. And the thing about that is, you know, a lot of people are scared of speaking out against what they believe is super powerful people or institutions or governments and stuff like that. But they don't know that those aren't super powerful people. They're super weak people because they're established on lies. You know, they have no real power. Their power is established on a mountain or a foundation of lies. So once those lies are destroyed, then the whole system and establishment comes crumbling down. So these aren't strong people, these aren't powerful people. And when they do give you leaders like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, it's no different than them creating rap artists for you, to engage you. So those wasn't genuine leaders. I don't care how y'all feel about it. Those wasn't genuine leaders. Those were agents that was used to create a certain effect amongst the people, a certain propaganda effect amongst the people. They was agents as well. And so when you see that our leaders have been cut down, that would discourage any and everybody that has a leader-like quality from stepping up, because first they instill fear in you, and the fear creates conformity in you. And then you have some that just don't fear, so it's nothing that you can do besides, overshadow them, shadow ban them, turn people against them, and probably get people amongst them to turn on them. But as far as, my understanding of certain things, some people can't be touched. And when they are touched, then, other things that those people are connected to get touched. The person that touched them, the things that they are connected to get dismantled, and the things that other people are connected to get dismantled. So that's my understanding of it, and like I said, it's biblical, it's biblical. The moment that they touch Christ, the temple split in half, the ground split in half, the moment that they did something to Osiris, the sun fell out the sky. You know what I mean? The sky went black, So we do know that, history and stories of the past always tell certain tales, that need to be told. But yeah, I wanted to share that, because, this is part of America's problem, allowing propaganda to control the masses or control the narrative, when it comes to, your people, your people or God's people, children of God, because I'm a child of God. And if other children of God aren't aware of their power, if they aren't aware of their power, then they'll fall in the traps of seeking power elsewhere, or believing that other things have power, as opposed to themselves being able to do things and to correct things. They will look for other things to correct it, and then you also have those that know that they're in a wicked system, know that they're part of the destruction of their own people, and they'll still try to mask themselves as being amongst the people that they're actually against. So that is just what it is. Like, when you deal with drugs and stuff like that, when you deal with drugs. And another thing I can show you, 2016.
Alright, so we had Drake versus Meek Mill. A lot of people were tweeting that to me. We kind of know the outcome of that. But if Drake and Kendrick Lamar got in a rap battle, who do you think would win?
You gotta go with Kendrick. I'm just saying.
2016. How much more, evidence do you need in order for you to know that these people are used against you, by the same group, the CIA, for better parts of a decade, a San Francisco Bay Area drug ring sold tons of cocaine to the Crips and Blood street gangs of Los Angeles and funneled millions of drug profits to a Latin American guerrilla army run by the United States Central Intelligence Agency. This drug ring opened the first pipeline between Colombia's cocaine cartels and the black neighborhoods of Los Angeles. The cocaine that flooded in helped spark a crack explosion in urban America. You know, understand what I'm saying? So the same agency that produced, you know, one of the most addictive drugs and unleashed them on your communities, you know, are the same. There's the same agency behind the music that you listen to. This is the reason why artists don't have to sell records. They don't have to sell records. They can make it seem as though you're selling records. They're bought because they are being used as idols or images for the people, so that they buy images and they promote the image to the people, you know. They promote the image to the people, you know. So, you know. Here we also have, you know, Big White Lie, the CIA and the cocaine crack epidemic. The author contends that this account is based on real incidents, conversations, and events constructed from tapes, personal diaries, court transcripts, and interviews. His principal arguments are that the CIA has perverted the American criminal justice system by protecting drug dealers and murderers from prosecution, that federal judges and prosecutors alleged to have broken narcotic laws have been protected from investigation, that the government of Bolivia and South American drug cartels leaders have been assisted and even paid by the CIA. Finally, the author maintains that without CIA support, South American cartels and the epidemic of cocaine and crack use in the U.S. world the U.S. would never have occurred. So, you know, you got to understand, the righteous want justice. You know, we want justice for, you know, any and all wrongdoings, and we want those that have done wrong brought to justice. If this is a super, you know, powerful, you know, agency, and there's no one to you know, topple them and bring them out of position, at least we want them to, you know, come clean and, you know, admit they're wrong, turn away from it, apologize to the people, repay all the people that they can repay, you know, and do it no more. You know, when they sin, stop, turn away from your sin and sin no more. You know, if you violated laws, turn away from those violations and violate those laws no more. So this is what we seek. You know, this is what we seek. You know, that. Not for people to get enraged and, you CIA, you bet. You understand? Nah, that's what they want. They want you to do that. You know, the righteous, we don't want that. We want, you know, to rectify things, to reform things, to make wrong right. You know, that's what we seek to do. You know, and if we see it and don't say anything about it, then, you know, we have to question our level of righteousness. You know. So, you know, this is the reason why we point things out and we speak on certain things. You know, not because we want to, you know, be seen. Like I told you, I don't care nothing about fame. I don't care nothing about being seen. I don't care nothing about being rich. I don't care nothing about going viral. I don't care nothing about none of that. Excuse me. I don't care nothing about any of that. You know, care about, you know, having, you know, the Spirit of God in you. And the Spirit of God is the Spirit of righteousness in you. You know, if not, then, you know, it wouldn't be the Spirit of God. It would just be a common spirit, you know. But yeah. So this is a book. It's called The Big White Lie: The CIA and the Cocaine or Crack Epidemic. And again, we can't elude from the fact that if they create drugs, they create diseases, you know, whether it's COVID, whether it's AIDS, whether it's the bubonic plague, whether it's any plague, and this is something that's created and is used to, you know, control a people, you know, it's used to control a people. You can control a people in fear. You can't control a people that doesn't have fear. You can control a people in anger. You cannot control a people in peace. You know, you disturb their peace and then make them anger. That's how you get them. You get some sort of control over them. But as far as a person that controls their peace, then you can't control them. You know, you can't control those people. You know, but you know, these things I wanted to share with y'all because, you know, they needed to be shared. You know, like I said, I see the deceptive tactics used on Facebook with these particular two individuals. And the thing about that is Malice changed his name to No Malice. And their whole, you know, thing when they first came out was about them selling drugs. And anybody to me that has ever sold drugs, you know, need to repent. They should repent because, like I said, these are devices that was used by the devil. These are devil's toys. These are toys of the devil. You know, the drugs and crack and, you know, things like that. Heroin, and those belong to the devil. So if you wanted to know who the devil was, who created those things, you know, who's being used to pump them, not the drug addicts, not the drug addicts that become victims of being influenced to be on the drug, but those that are selling the drug, distributing the drug, or influencing others, maliciously influencing others to get on the drug. You know, those people need to repent. You know, they need to repent. You know, and turn away from those things. But Malice was just a preacher. You know, he was just a pastor. He had a church, and he stated that he wasn't going to come back to hip hop. You know, he wasn't going to come back to the music because it was adverse to his stance in the church. But as you see, peer pressure has led him back into a wicked, dirty, and corrupt industry, you know, ran by demonic people. CIA is demonic. If they're creating drugs and, you know, experimenting with mind control tactics and things like that, then, you know, they can't be good. You know, if you're going around poisoning people, you can't be good. You know, or trying to poison people, you can't be good people. You know, but I wanted to share that. You know, I wanted to share that. You know, and like I said, I don't care how it comes off. But like I said, most of your leaders that you have ever had was always an agent. You know, and that's the thing. You know, we seen a woman state that Dr. Umar just recently you know, but he should be, you know, he's plastered as one of our leaders, one of our black leaders, you know, but it's a female who's telling you that Dr. Umar's jump off fixes her crown and says he's an FBI agent. You understand? So this was just 2 days ago when they stated that. When she just stated this, came out then. So she's telling you more about, who Umar Johnson is. Like these people are agents. Like I told you, they're agents. They are agenda promoters and propaganda. They are propagandists. And that's not right. So they can appear as pro-black or black people pro-black, but they're being used as that. They're being used to be that. And I believe there's another one of these where they said that Ice Cube here, the government promoted and curated the gangster rap scene in the 1990s, according to hip-hop icon Ice Cube, who group NWA were hugely successful during that era. Speaking to Bill Murr on his podcast The Week, Ice Cube said the same people who own the record labels own the private prisons. Literally, the same people. The records that come out are really geared to push people towards that prison industry. Following pushback from Bill Murr, who said, but the government didn't make you write those lyrics. Ice Cube explained the government role in the PSYOP, saying it's not about making someone write the lyric, it's about being there as guardrails to make sure certain songs don't get through and certain songs do. Some records are made by a committee. Some records are made by a committee. This is the reason why, you might hear, Drake sound like Big Sean. You might hear this particular artist sound like that particular artist because there's a database of where this music comes from. You think Little Baby that's Little Baby? No, these people have a machine behind them. And like I said, they could take a nobody and make them somebody. Like what's that girl's name? Glorilla. Would you think that's Glorilla writing those rhymes? No, it's a machine behind her. There's a committee that creates these rhymes. You know what I mean? There's a committee that creates these rhymes. And as I delved deeper, you wanted to see where Tupac actually came from, and you meet the man that created, the Tupac. Tupac. He was a poet. He can really write. He's really a writer. But when it came to his style came from, I'm not sure, I forget this guy's name, but I was speculating when I was young, when I was probably in my 20s something, I was speculating it was Mac Mall. It was Mac Mall where he had got, certain things from. Maybe Mac Mall ghost wrote for him. Maybe he wrote ghost wrote for him. Then I stumbled across another artist, and you can hear Tupac in him. So either he was influenced by Tupac or Tupac was influenced by him. And it was later discussed that he actually influenced Tupac. It was a female that brought Tupac to him as an artist and wanted Tupac to be part of his group. And as he started to shape and show Tupac how to come up out of that pattern and create another pattern. But Tupac is exceptionally talented, himself, so and you've met some of the outlaws, and I've rhymed with the outlaws. Like, their talent was genuine. Like, they had genuine talent. Like I've met and rhymed with Fatal Hussein, and they can really rhyme. They can really rap. So they don't have a machine behind them. They didn't have a machine that was, writing and stuff for them. You know, but then you do have some that, machines write for them. You know. So that's just what it is. It's just what it is. That's why now you have AI being able to create rhymes for you and take your voice and make you say everything that's on here. AI can do that. AI can take your voice and make you say certain things. So this is what you have with those artists. They have machines behind them. Kendrick Lamar has a machine behind him. The Clips now is working with the machine. The machine is behind them. Promoting them and pushing them and pumping them. First, before I get off of here, I do want to show y'all that they had projected sales, like, so they so just putting in the sale, Boost Collective, with a first week of 113,000 in sales, landed a number 4 spot on Billboard's. It's safe to say Clips is back. So I just want to show you that the projected Let God Sort 'Em Out is now the highest charting rap album on US Apple Music, surpassing Jack Boys 2, who recently released Deluxe as well. Clips Let God Sort 'Em Out is now the number 1 rap album on US Apple Music. So when you keep hearing these type of things, like Travis Scott, I don't even know, Travis Scott, yeah. Travis Scott was, I believe, the person who had the people at the concert, get trampled and stuff like that. But I don't know who that is, because I'm not a follower. I have my own mind. If I see certain things and I gravitate towards it, then that's how I'm aware of it, and that's how I'm able to receive certain things, because you're involved in the spiritual connection to certain things. What would be my spiritual connection to this? What would, oh, the Eclipse just came back out and yeah, man, I always liked it. No, they had some good song like Grinding. I listened to that, but that's all about, drugs and stuff like that. Then you had What Happened to That Boy. Then with Birdman, that was cool. That What Happened to That Boy. But that was talking about, violence against, other blacks. But that's what that song was about. But I wasn't never a fan of theirs, But if I ever do come out of retirement, is it, I can create, I could get off of here right now and create music, I could create music, but I'm not, because these people are older than me. You understand? These people are a lot older than I am, and I just wanted to see where they was they was projected to sell more. You know what I mean? Let's see if we can put expected. No. No. But no, they used to have they prompted you. Now here it go. Clips. This is July 15. Clips. Let God sort them out. Expected to sell 90K units first week and chart at number 4 on billboards. It's expected. You know what I mean? It will be their second top 10 album on billboards. So this is prophesied that, you know, this is going to expect is going to sell 90K the first week, and then it does, and then it becomes number 4 on the billboards, and it will eventually be number 1. It'll be up in the top. Nobody's checking for this stuff, bruh. Nobody around me is. Nobody around here is. And nobody riding up the street right now and listening to this stuff. Nobody. You know. So it is offensive to, you know, someone that sees the truth. That's what it is. It's just offensive. You know. And if you don't say anything about it, then, you know what I mean, you're just as offensive as well. You know what I mean? To just keep allowing, you know, wickedness to just beat and just trample humanity, you know. But that's just something that I felt like sharing, you know. So I'm not sure who needed to hear that or wanted to see that, but, you know, like I said, I did. I wanted to elaborate on that because, you know, I see it as part of, you know, the problem, you know, with the people that has always been targeted, you know, targeted to do certain things, to carry certain things out, you know, to be anti-authoritarian, to push, to promote drugs, you know, to you know, that's what I see it as. You know. It was to push you to pro-drug and anti-establishment culture that will create uprisings and further division within society. So again, I told you that the goal is division. You can manipulate a people that can't stand together. You know, divided, you know, united we stand, divided we fall. You know, and then you have a nation or a city divided, you know, can't stand. You know, so that's the goal. These are wicked people. Wicked people. Wicked people. Wicked people. You know. Peace.